Hey everybody, welcome back to the 31st episode of Taps and Patience. I am AJ with Design the Everything, here with Harrison of Precision Ingenuity. How you doing, Harrison?
Doing good, AJ. How you doing this evening?
I'm not sick now like I was last week.
That's always a plus.
Yep. I feel like I've been sick more this year than I have in the rest of my life.
Were you sick months during the years that shall not be named? COVID.
What? Oh. Sorry, that went straight over my head. I don't think I ever got COVID. If I did, it wasn't bad. I don't remember. But when I fairly early into me going full time, I had the flu or something that turned into pneumonia, and that had me down for a month. And then over this last week, I was down for I was basically in bed all of Monday, all of Tuesday, and then Wednesday I was up and moving, but super, super, super lethargic. And I would go work for 20 minutes and then go sit down for 20 minutes and then go work for 20 minutes. And I ended up going to bed at 8 or something. And then even on Thursday, I wasn't feeling nauseous or anything, but I think because I hadn't really eaten for 3 days, I was kind of recovering from that. No caffeine in those 3 days and not very much food. And then on Thursday, I was, probably a little bit dehydrated and needed to catch back up on eating. And yeah. So that was basically a whole week of less productivity.
Yeah, it happens. So you're just catching up on everyone. If you didn't get sick during the years that should not be named, which you should now get, then you're just playing catch up. Playing catch up to all the different COVID's 37 million variants that have come out.
Yes.
Since then. All right. Well, good to see you back on your feet. So how are you feeling about everything? Feeling like everything's going good?
Well, we can talk about the Kickstarter because I don't think we've addressed that at all.
Yeah.
But today was one of those days. You have those days where you just think that you're a terrible machinist because everything's going poorly and everything's a struggle. Today was not one of those days for me. Today was finally one of those days where just everything I touched was perfect.
Those are awesome days.
Yes. It was sometimes I am good at this stuff.
Mm-hmm. So what all are you working on that just went smoothly? Do you want to talk about that at all?
So we probably need to get into some of the history more on this. But Scott and I are starting up another line of products. We have better keychains. Mm-hmm. And now we're we're branching out into another one, which we don't really have a name for yet. We don't have all of the marketing and everything put together. We have been sarcastically calling it Better Desks because we have better keychains. And so now we're doing Better Desks. And that may just stick because that's what we've been calling it.
Cool.
But the premise behind Better Desks is, and it's not limited to just stuff for your desk, but we are making things for your workplace that makes your day just a little bit more efficient.
Gotcha.
Kind of utilizing some of those lean principles that we've been, learning about and applying to the shop. And these will be fairly simple products. Our first one that we're working on is a pen rest. It's just a place to put your pen. With the theory being that if your pen has a home, you'll know exactly where it is. It's not going to get lost, and you'll save 10 seconds at a time, 20 times a day or whatever. So this was the most recent one off of the machine, and I am super happy with it. I'm showing it right now on the camera to the video viewers. The fun part about this part is there is exactly one flat surface on the entire pen rest. It is on the bottom.
That's cool.
None of the sides are flat. The top is not flat. It's all radiused.
That's sweet.
The kind of the design style around Better Desks is based on a forged part or a pressed part. So this is basically a cylinder if you were to take a form tool and then just squish it down to make this little groove on the top. So all of the edges are radiused.
That's cool.
And everything else we're working on this product line is going to be similar. There's also, it's going to be super hard to see on camera, but there is a texture where the pen rests. And nice. Again, going back to the theory of better desks and like how I implement lean and stuff, is that my theory is that when something is missing, it needs to be obvious that something is missing.
Mm-hmm.
So like whenever I'm setting up my labels, like if I'm giving something a home, like a screwdriver. So in my toolbox, I have homes for all of my screwdrivers, and underneath where the screwdriver sits, it sets the name of the label is underneath where the screwdriver would be sitting. And so when you remove that screwdriver, there's not only a hole that should have a screwdriver in it, you also see the name, and you cover up that label when you put the screwdriver in, which tells you the right thing's there. And what's missing, you know what's missing. And so on all the better desk stuff, whenever there is something missing, like the pen in this pen rest, we're going to have that crosshatch pattern just to say, hey, something needs to be here. You need to go find it. So
I could think of so many products that would be awesome for your desk now that you've got me thinking about this.
There's a lot. I have a list of like 6 here that are all pretty quick, easy ones that we want to get started with.
Awesome. Do you want to divulge any of those, or do you want me to just state my ideas, or just leave it off?
The pen rest, we're starting with because it's small and simple, and we could do it with the stock we have on hand. Mm-hmm. We're going to do a little sticky note station.
Yep.
That's coming up. We have a 3x5 card station, a phone stand, some sort of coaster, probably something super simple. And then the big things that we're going to do is a monitor riser, like a little platform that you'll sit your monitor on, laptop riser, which will probably be basically exactly the same, but different proportions. And then the thing that I'm really excited for, and will probably be the flagship, is a monitor stand, like something you would clamp to your desk and like a Visa monitor mount. Because I spent like 5 years designing monitor mounts with my old job, or monitor related items. So like I'm pretty familiar with the space.
If you're going to do that, it'd be really cool. At my old job, I use my laptop and secondary monitor now, but at my old job, I had 3 monitors set up with my laptop, and I struggled to find a good laptop stand that I could slot my laptop into that would hold it clamshell closed and allow me to plug my USB-C cable into it. And then I wasn't actually using my laptop. It was more of a docking station for my whole array. And I always struggled to find a good one because they were either really clean and really flimsy, like it was really easy to knock the laptop over, or they were really bulky and just a pain in the butt to use.
Yeah. So you were keeping your laptop closed. You weren't.
Yeah, because I had 3 monitors.
Okay.
So I had three monitors.
Your laptop can hook into 3 monitors
with one USB-C connection.
Oh, that's impressive. Okay.
Yeah, so the Dell Precision workstations that I used at my old job, my old job that was switching out towers to laptops to get everyone mobile because of COVID and stuff. And we started doing it a little bit before COVID, but it was about around that time. And the idea was, before COVID, the idea was if we have these stations set up, we had multiple buildings, then designers could work at the manufacturing facility if they had a project that was going through the shop, so they could be right there if a problem occurred, to be easy access to the people building the equipment. And then when they're designing heavily, they could go work out at the secondary facility, which is where they'd spend the majority of their time. And so the idea, and so with that was born the idea of, well, if we're going to do that, we need a portable system so everyone can have all their files.
Yep.
Or if they could take their laptops and work home in the evenings or something like that. And so the idea of having a dock system, which Dell worked out really well with their laptops because they could support 3 monitors, which, funny enough, we found the limit of how many monitors based off pixel density that it could support. So
Interesting.
the tech guy who was in charge at the time, he loved 4K monitors, and so he tried to connect 3 4K monitors to it, and it could not do that.
Okay.
There was just too many pixels. But what you could do is you could do one 2K monitor and then two 1080p monitors on either side, and you could do two 2Ks and one 1080. I think. I don't think you could do 3 2Ks. I think that was right at the borderline edge. But what was weird is that you could have the laptop screen, and that one didn't seem to count against your other monitors. So I could have 4 monitors if I really wanted to, if I opened up my laptop, which was kind of cool. But I typically just relied on the 3. And the way we had it is we had like a 30-inch main monitor and then 2 like 24-inch side monitors. And so I would have SolidWorks opened on the main one. I would have my emails and stuff on one side, and then on the other side, I would have PDFs, File Explorer, everything else random on the other side. And on this side, it was Outlook and Internet. So each one kind of had their setup, and it was awesome. I do miss that about my old job. It was really easy to get stuff done on the computers. So
I finally invested in a second monitor setup when Scott came, because I asked him what he needed for his desk, and he basically just sent me an Amazon link to like a desk, a monitor, and a keyboard. That's all he asked for. And the monitor he got looks pretty good, and it was like $100 or something. I was like, I'll get one for myself, because I've been working off of just one laptop. Well, one of 2 laptops, but one laptop monitor for the last couple years.
Yeah.
And as soon as I hooked this one up, it was like, oh yeah, I remember why I like 2 monitors. This is way better.
Yeah. Yeah. I got spoiled. I got the triple monitor treatment at my old job, and it was awesome. And then the nice thing about being close to the tech guy was that at one point I had 3 30-inch monitors, because we cycled through a lot of engineers and we had a lot of extra monitors. And so I stole 2, and I had 3 30-inch monitors, and I had this like massive array for a little while until we hired some more people on, and then I had to give them back. But for a while, I had this really awesome setup.
I just wouldn't know what to do with that much monitor.
Oh, it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. And now I don't remember if it's a 27-inch or 30-inch, but I have a big monitor, and then I have my laptop, and my laptop is such high resolution and so much smaller that I'm always like,
yeah,
I feel like I'm getting old because I'm trying to squint and look at it compared to the other one. So like I'll have stuff opened on it, and then I'll like drag it over to the secondary monitor, and it's like, okay, now I can see it. And then when I'm done, I'll put it back over on the laptop. So anyways, let's see here. What else? So that's my big thing that I would say is a laptop. Where we started with all this is a laptop holder for USB-C docks, because I do feel like in this day and age that's probably becoming more and more prevalent, and be really cool to have.
So what does it look like if you're not using the screen? Because I would make one where you could use it still like a laptop.
So all the ones that I used, they're basically just a U-channel block with a wide base, more or less. But they try to be universal.
Yeah.
And that's the key that no one has figured out how to crack yet that I've seen yet. I haven't seen anyone who's made a dock that can be adjustable to accommodate any size laptop while still creating a good size fit without feeling like it needs to tip over. Like there was some clever designs that came out, but they were all really flimsy, and I would be lying if I said that none of the laptops that we tried at my old job found their way on the floor because the stands are too flimsy. That happened a couple times, and we went through a couple docks. And so those laptops might have been an anomaly because of how large they were, but most of them were designed to handle something like an iMac, or not an iMac, like a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air, which is really thin and light. And for those, I'm sure it worked great. But for engineering laptops, they could fit them, but they were so heavy that you bump your table at all, and it's just tippy canoe.
So big base plate.
Big base plate. It'd be cool to have a mechanism. The coolest one that I saw, but it was also the most flimsy. But it was a really cool idea. It was a wide base, but when you would stick it into it, it would kind of close until it grabbed onto the laptop. But the problem is it was so rubbery and flimsy, and it had such a narrow base that would fall over. It was an awesome idea with a poor execution, and so it'd be really cool to have some kind of a linkage and spring system where when you set it on it, it would bring them in and just lock onto it, and then when you went to pull up, it would automatically release. And so it'd be really, I feel like it could be pretty simple to design, and it would be almost like an art piece in some ways, just if you got it to work right. And I've always wanted to design one of those. I just hadn't thought about it in a long time until you mentioned this. But I was always really upset with all of the stands that I used.
I'll add that to the list. Because I was thinking about, like, basically I want a place to, here, we'll make everyone seasick. Like, this laptop takes up a lot of desk surface area, and I like to be able to move it up just to have more desk.
Yep. I have something like that on mine. Before we got heat and cooled air in the shop, it got really hot in the last summer. And so we got some risers that had fans on them. And that helped out a lot for the heat. It also made the laptops taller, and so we're using them no matter what now, just because it's nice to have the laptops up. So I like that. I don't know if the fans actually made a difference, though. They were pretty chintzy fans.
You could just make the surface into a big heatsink.
Yeah, maybe. Depends on your laptop design if it would be able to utilize that.
I would think most couldn't, because they would have rubber feet that they would sit on. Like, that's how most laptops are designed.
Yeah, that's how mine is. It's got big rubber feet on it, and so that's why you need some sort of active cooling to make a difference.
But it would look sweet if it was a heatsink.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I would be excited. One of the coolest desk items that I've ever seen was I saw someone who did a giant revolver cylinder that held pins in the bolt holes, and it was set up on a bearing system so it could rotate around. I think that was a Kickstarter that I saw back several years ago, and it was really cool. So
something like that's on our lineup. It's probably not going to be a revolver cylinder, but some sort of, it probably won't rotate either, but some sort of like pen cup thing. Yeah,
that'd be cool. I've one of the things that I wanted to do for my students taking my intro to CNC class was I wanted to have them design something and machine it. And one of the ideas that I had that I'd never played around with was I wanted to come up with different single pin cases, because you could have like a clamshell that opened up like a book. You could have it open up long ways. You could have it split in half. You could have it hinged out both ways or hinged to the side both ways. Like, there's a lot of really unique mechanisms, and I wanted them to try to come up with some unique way to store a pin and then open it up. And I wanted them to use as much design freedom to open it up but still have it be machinable, because I thought that would be a really cool exercise.
That would be fun.
So that's cool. Well, I'll be rooting for you in that respect, because I want to see what you have. Is the bottom of your pen of your pen stand that you're working on, is that gonna have a felt, or is that just gonna be flat machine bottom?
It's gonna be cork. So here was the first prototype, and you can see there is a cork bottom.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite thing about your little stand that you did, because I got one of your coin stands. I love that felt bottom. It made all the difference in the world.
And when you have a laser, that stuff is super easy, because it just like, cuts it. I just export the geometry directly from Fusion, stick it in my laser, hit cut. Like,
yeah, that is awesome. So cool. Well, what else you got going on?
So the other two things, and all of these are kind of related, but the Kickstarter is going on. And in fact, we were funded today, by the way.
Ooh, congratulations.
Couple hours ago. Let's see, I can hold this up. Yeah, so we were just funded a couple hours ago. We are at about $8,800.
That's awesome.
I would like to point something out, though. So Scott and I introduced some changes to our campaigns on the 14th of April. And if you notice, on the 14th of April, we went from making, like $100 to $200 a day up to like $500 a day.
Dude, that's awesome.
So I'm really, really happy about that improvement. And I kind of wish we had, made those changes earlier.
You say that, but here's the deal. Had you made those changes earlier, you wouldn't have been able to see their effect maybe as well.
That's true.
So, and because you're planning on doing Kickstarters as a business model, the more insight you can get to what has positive and negative effects on your Kickstarters will benefit you for the next one. And as long as I almost would plan that as a business strategy where try to make changes to the Kickstarter mid-Kickstarter and see if they have a negative or positive effect and incorporate that to your future ones. Kind of like A/B testing for like YouTube. A/B testing for the thumbnails, how they do that. I think that data is highly useful for Kickstarter.
So do you want to know the biggest change we made? And from what I can tell, makes the biggest difference?
I would love to know.
We changed the thumbnail.
Oh, really? Is that what it was?
Let's see if I can show this again here. So this is, there's a big play button in the middle of it right here. But this is the current thumbnail. And it just shows the product a lot better than our old picture, which, let me see if I can find it. Well, it looked kind of like this one here, but it was on concrete. And I think it just made the product more clear.
Is that all you did?
So the other thing we did is we added these textured scales, the premium scales.
Ooh, I do like those scales a lot. I saw those on Instagram. Those are beautiful.
And like maybe they are like people are reading the campaign and they're more interested to buy because of the premium scales, but we really haven't sold that many.
So it's probably definitely the video.
So I think it's mostly the thumbnail here. If we
so is that thumbnail visible whenever people are clicking on the campaign too? Like don't they have a? Is that the same image that shows up when people are scrolling?
Yes, that's the image that shows up when people are just browsing Kickstarter, and those are the sales that we've seen upticks in.
Okay, that makes sense.
So thumbnails, they're important.
That's awesome. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Your coins one, I got your all the projects you've got pulled up here. Your coins are the same way. Your coins sold out.
It's almost actually the same thumbnail now that you say it. It's, just a product on kind of a natural background.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the secret.
Yeah.
What did we do for the Not for Climbing? Okay, the Not for Climbing Carabiner, we had this picture.
But I think you had a lot more sales from your promotion of it leading up to it.
We did.
And that one you probably had less Kickstarter, like the ratio of Kickstarter sales versus people that you brought in is probably skewed a lot more in that one. Can you tell that?
On this one, actually, it was a lot more organic sales.
Oh, it was? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Though we did have some nice little bumps here, like this one. That was when we got featured in Core 77.
Yeah.
Single-handedly give us a couple $1,000s there.
That's awesome.
But, yeah. So, anyway, I'm glad those sales are up from where they were.
Yeah. It's funny, the smallest things can be the most important thing on those projects. It's the small detail stuff that pays dividends. And that's something I'm not very good at.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I have Scott.
Yeah. Although if I were to do it today, I would do it completely different than my first Kickstarter. Like my first Kickstarter, we did everything so wrong. We had every single color as a separate pledge, for one. For two, they were all single purchase sales at the same price. So it was just a list of all the colors as their own individual deal. That is the worst possible way to do it.
Yes.
And I don't think we had any add-ons.
for anybody who's going to do a Kickstarter in the future, this is how you do it. If you're doing a campaign that you expect to be smaller, let's say under $5,000, do not have a bunch of color options. Otherwise, things get very complicated. If you are doing a campaign over $5,000, then you're allowed to have color options, but you need to use BackerKit to do your survey. BackerKit costs about $500, but they also add like a store that goes, like when people are doing their survey, they have the ability to buy extra things. And typically that adds about 10% to your sales. And that is held true for like many people that I have talked to. They add 10%. And so it costs $500 to do BackerKit. So if you're doing $5,000, you break even on it, basically. That's gotcha. Why if you go more than $5,000, do BackerKit. If you're under $5,000, don't do BackerKit.
That makes sense.
BackerKit has all of the tools to do product variations, and it makes it really easy. Kickstarter does not have those built in very well. So if you're doing the larger campaign where you expect more than $5,000 in sales, then you just like take care of all the variations in BackerKit, and all of your rewards are like buy 1 carabiner, buy 2 carabiners, buy 3 carabiners. And if you give people the options to buy more carabiners, they will buy more of your product. They will buy more of your product. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to do another Kickstarter at some point in the future. It was a good experience. I just have a sour taste with how many I have left over, and that's totally our fault. Inexperience for the win, but it was very beneficial, and I think it's helped us in the long run.
If you exclude time investment, the total cost to launch the Not for Climbing carabiner was in the neighborhood of like $350, and like $200 of those dollars were literally taps, because we had our breaking taps issues. I guess that's I never include the tapping head in my math there, so maybe it was like $400, but yeah, we needed a couple prototypes and to do product photography, and we're saving all the production until we know how many we sell.
Yeah. And see, we went around this backwards in the sense that we bought all the material and all of the tooling and built all the fixtures before Kickstarter. That way we could handle what we thought was going to be a massive influx of sales that never happened. So like, and our Kickstarter, while nice, was also horrible. Like, it was a good Kickstarter. It had a lot of photos. It had a lot of, like, the description was good. The video was meh. But the sales side of it was horrible. Just because, like I said, we just had a horrible way of, like, showing our product. And we limited ourselves doing the Make 100 as well. You can sell more than 100, and I should have had that as a separate, or maybe just the first 100 sales. I really should have made it have more. Have the first 100 be special in some way for sure, but not limit it to 100.
Did you sell all 100?
No, we only made it 40. So
it doesn't matter then if it was.
It doesn't matter, but it kind of does, because we were limiting the amount of options that were available because of it, thinking that would create some sort of scarcity, but it did not. So
yeah, on the coin, I wish I had done something to be able to sell more than the 100, because I sold exactly 100 coins, and I had a waiting list of people, and so I think if I had like made it so that the 100 were like the unique algorithmically generated ones, and then all the other ones after that were standardized or something, I think I could have sold probably twice as many coins.
Yeah. Or what you would do is what you could have done at that point is the first 100 are completely 100% randomized, and then anything beyond that you have like 5 patterns, and that was your only selection. Like, they would be randomly generated for sure, but you would have to pick from a library of randomly generated ones that were, or you just get one of 5 designs at random. Like, you'd have. They wouldn't be unique, but they would be random.
I will say the best thing that came of that coin Kickstarter 20% of the backers who backed the coin backed this Kickstarter, which
Oh,
is
really?
just like outrageous. I can't believe that 20% of the backers on that campaign backed this one.
What percentage of the first keychain are backing this one? For context,
I believe it was in the neighborhood of 4 or 5% of the Not for Climbing carabiners came to the Not So Tactical.
Oh wow! So 20% is pretty massive.
That's like unheard of. Yeah.
Have you talked to other people about that to hear what they say?
No, I would have to ask Fidget Things how his numbers came out, because they didn't release the tools to be able to see this data until like literally during the campaign.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, they keep breaking the tools. Like Kickstarter has them marked as beta. They call it like advanced analytics, and they marked as beta. And they'll like work for a couple days, and then they'll be broken for a couple days, and they'll work for a couple days.
Gotcha. So they're still figuring out all the bugs.
They're still figuring it out. But yeah, so I have to ask Fidget Things. But 20% of customer returning to a new product is just unheard of.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
That is exciting.
But okay, so excuse me, talking about the Kickstarter a little bit more specifically here. Hold on. Oh, sorry, I had to take a drink. So I'm not sure how much we've talked about this on the podcast, but we expected sales for the Not So Tactical Carabiner to be a lot higher than they were. Mm-hmm. In fact, we were figuring we would be about double or triple of where we are now. And from talking to people and, both customers and just like mentory type people, like other experts in the field, other experts in the field, of which I am not one of them. We basically came to the conclusion that we just carabinered people out. Like people were really excited for the first carabiner because it was new and exciting and different. Mm-hmm. And then like 3 months later, we did basically the same product. Mm-hmm. And people were just worn out. And like a lot of the people we talked to, who are normally like, we talked to a lot of people who are normally the kind of person that buy almost everything Design Everything makes. Mm-hmm. And they were just like, I already have a carabiner. Why do I need another one?
Yeah.
And that is where all of our sales went.
That makes total sense. Yeah.
And that is why Scott and I started working on Better Desks, or whatever we're going to call it, is because that, like, instead of just, keychain, people only need so many keychains. So now we can do better desks in between, kind of alternate and give people a little bit more time to miss us.
Yeah. I like it.
So that was the idea behind Better Desks.
I like it. Diversity helps. Get as many products out there as you can, because ultimately, I think the Kickstarter route is awesome, but like I've always said, if you can build up a large product catalog through your Kickstarters, eventually your catalog is going to outweigh Kickstarter. Not that you're going to stop doing Kickstarter, but you won't be stressed out about how every Kickstarter does.
Yeah. Now, I do think, and this is like, you need to focus as well. You can't just be making anything and everything. Like, you have to focus. Mm-hmm. The lesson we learned there is you can't be...
Just because you struck lightning in a bottle?
You need to focus on a problem or a niche. You need to focus on a niche in a group of people. You can't focus on the exact same problem.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is you might be able to catch lightning in a bottle, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to keep striking in the same location. Like, it can happen for sure. Like, if you do another Kickstarter carabiner campaign 2 years from now, I think it would do really well, because you'd have 2 years of experience under your belt, and you'd be able to bring something to the market and industry that would be a major improvement over what you're doing today. Like, I'm expecting 2 years from now, you're going to have bigger, better machines and have much better capabilities and be able to design some absolutely amazing things. At least that's the goal. Always improving. Like, if you had the Pocket NC's 5-axis machine to make some wicked sweet carabiners, I mean, you would sell a ton of them. I can promise you that. And so, coming back to it, like 2 years from now, 3 years from now, once you have a bunch of these out in the wild, you'll be able to start going back to the old ones and doing revisions and improvements, and then you can start doing really well.
And we do plan on doing some more carabiners, relatively soon, but they're not going to be the exact same design. Like we need one, an S-shaped one. We need a smaller one, but spaced out appropriately.
Yeah. Had you done the S-shaped one, I think you would have done a lot better.
Agreed.
So, well, cool. So, let's see here. So, I had some family visit last week. And one thing that happened during that was they toured our shop, and a lot of my family that came and visited, they have big machine shops up in Michigan, in the Michigan area. And to put things in perspective, I toured their facility, 2008-ish, 2009-ish, somewhere in that range. And he had like 5 shops that were 40 to 80,000 square foot each.
Gosh. Okay.
And so just massive manufacturing. He makes the largest trench diggers in the US and I think in the world.
Interesting.
I mean, it's really cool. They are insane. And I won't go into all the details on them, but if anyone ever wants to look them up, it's DeWind water trenching or DeWind trenching. I forget the exact name scheme they called for it, but it's DeWind trenching, I think. I'll look it up. But anyways, while he was here viewing our shop, DeWind One Pass trenching. Yeah. While he was touring our shop, he had a buddy who was wanting to get some 1911 hand grips, and he wanted like 600 of them. So we might be doing that.
Ooh, yeah, that would be good.
So
I noticed you had some on your Instagram.
Yeah,
which is what I'm working on pulling up here. Is this first one here? Is that just a render? No, that's real.
It. That's the actual one.
That looks like a render.
That is it. It was sandblasted and then Cerakoted, but it's fully machined out of a solid chunk of aluminum. And
so for those of you who, I was going to say, for those of you who can't see, he has a picture of a 1911 on one of their fancy 3D printed stands, and it has a kind of a olive drabby, tannish scale that has milled honeycombs on it.
Yeah, and it kind of fades out to nothing, which is what I really like. The silver or the gold grips do not do justice to the pattern on them. We need to do those in a different color. We did gold because we thought people might like them for the bling factor, but they do not do justice to what they actually look like.
Can you get some contrast in those glow spots make your engraving pop?
They would look amazing in some sort of battle-worn finish. They would stand out, and it would be amazing. We need to do that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
What is this logo?
That's our. So we had our original logo, but for the gun stuff, we have a separate logo that we designed just for our gun division. And we wanted something simple for that didn't really harden back to the machining side. It was more of it's kind of that military gun look.
Yeah. Why don't you use that for everything?
Because we didn't think about it until we got into the gun stuff. I like it more. It's a lot cleaner.
Yeah, agreed.
So, who knows? We might slowly transition to that one. We've been using both. You got our original one right there.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, I like it. It's a lot cleaner. We started out way too complicated. But I think that's
everyone always does.
Everyone always does. So, you don't know who you are in the beginning, so you get overly complicated to cover all your bases, and then you simplify.
Though I would like to point out the Design the Everything logo has not changed in 6 years or something.
Is it your original, though?
Yes. Has not changed.
Oh, yep. Okay. Well, I guess not everyone makes that mistake.
Well, it helps that, Scott was there right at the beginning and did the logo. Some of our branding stuff has and will change more. Like our font and our color have both changed slightly, but we've been fairly consistent from day one.
Yeah, that's awesome. So anyways, that's pretty much what's been going on. We've been getting a lot more orders from our favorite customer. And what's funny is that when I dropped off some parts last week, they said, "Oh, we're going to be slow for about 2 weeks. And so you probably won't see anything from us for about 2 weeks." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I went back and was talking with Weston. We're like, "Oh, well, when we get caught up on their stuff, we're going to go out and hand out a bunch of business cards and all this stuff." And then we got like 3 quotes from them that same week. I was like, "Yeah, nothing. Whatever."
Yeah.
You can say that, but you're still asking me to quote stuff. So, but we'll see. We had them when we went and toured their shop. We told them the size of our machine, and they sent us a part. And we told them we can only do about 18 inches wide on our machine, but they sent us a part that was about 28 inches long, and we could do it because we had the Saunders fixture plate with the Saunders vices, and the part was designed in such a way that there was a hole in the very center of the part, and so we could keep that in the machining area and do the first side, and then rotate it 180 degrees, go off that center hole, and then do the other side. And then after we did that part for them, they started sending us parts that were like 64 inches long. It's like,
you have to take out the windows on your enclosure.
So yeah, I think we can do them. I got to send them a quote for them, but it's like they are testing our limits.
Yeah,
which I appreciate. It's driving me to the point where I'm going to have to get bigger equipment for them if I can keep getting enough work to justify it.
You need to get that the big Haas VS3.
Yeah, I would love to. And it was interesting because, speaking of machines, I was talking to the guys that a little bit of backstory. We had some people that came and dropped off a bunch of parts for us to laser engrave. It's a machine shop in the area. They've come to our shop a handful of times because they wanted to get a laser for part marking, but they got this really fancy laser that's nicer than ours, but it's busted. It arrived messed up. And so then they sent them replacement parts, and they were the wrong parts. Then they sent them new replacement parts, and it went to the wrong location. And this guy's been on the phone with them. He has done all this stuff, and he had parts that were supposed to be going out today, but he had no way to mark them. And so on Friday, at the end of Friday, he's like, "I'm showing up on Monday morning, and I have a whole bunch of parts that I need marked because they need to be delivered today." And it stressed us out because he was there first thing, and Weston was running 100 miles an hour today trying to get those done for him. But we got them done, but we were talking to him afterwards about his shop when he came to pick them up. And it's interesting because he actually purchased this machine shop from another guy about 6 to 8 months ago. And he's got a mixture of old and new equipment. And he has a bunch of Mazak stuff, and he's switching over to Haas. And I've never heard of anyone going from a Mazak down to a Haas, because it's usually the other way around. So that was kind of interesting talking to them about that.
Haas's make money.
Haas's make money. They do. It's not the progression that you normally hear about. So it was just kind of interesting to talk to them about that a little bit. So we'll see. I mean, the Haas does make a good machine. Don't get me wrong. I would like to try like a Doosan though. Like, I don't know why I have this burning desire to try a Doosan, but I've heard such good things about them that I'd like to give it a shot. But I would be happy with any kind of larger vertical machine.
Yep.
So
that reminds me, there was actually one more thing I did in the last week that I forgot to mention. I got called in back to my last job to help them out with some parts.
Mm-hmm.
They have a turret punch that they have had for years and years and years. It was their first CNC machine.
Okay.
The only way we have to program it right now is using a computer that runs Mac OS 7.
Oh, wow.
Which is just ancient. And the software is awful and it's super out of date. But that machine runs, like the same 3 parts. And that is all it has done for the last 20 years. And so like they never need to do new programs for it. Mm-hmm. And getting new software for it costs like $20,000 for the software plus like $10,000 for a post.
So how hard would it be to find a new replacement machine?
I think when that machine dies, they'll just do everything on the laser.
Okay.
But it's like that machine just sits there. It makes money. Like it's old. It's ancient.
Yeah.
Like the only way you can get programs to it's on a floppy disk. And that was a retrofit from when it used to be a tape drive. But it just runs. It just makes money. It just sits there and you put in a sheet, you hit go. You come back a couple minutes later, you remove the sheet, and you put in a new one. And like it's still relatively fast, it's still relatively accurate, and it just runs.
So I don't remember who it was that did this. It might have been Within Tolerance podcast. But have you ever looked into like the screw industry and the fasteners as they get made?
I have not. I know a little bit about like the screw machines, but
so the screw machines, they've been using the same machines to make screws since like the early 1940s or something. Yeah. And almost all of those machines that are making screws today were built in that era, and they haven't really made any new ones. Like at least that's what it sounds like. And it's really cool because I've gone down the YouTube rabbit hole, and there are so many of those old machines that are still running today. And I mean, like I was watching one video of this guy who was in Japan, one man show, and he made like 4 million screws a day on like 30 of these old machines that are out putting screws like crazy. And he's been doing it for like, who knows, 300 years or something. I don't know. Guy looked old. But it was just cool to see these machines that he's been running by himself for so many years, and they're all old. And he's just been chugging along.
Yep, cam operated.
Yeah,
all mechanical.
The cam operated machines like that are just so. I could be mesmerized watching those all day, just because like the mechanical simplicity, but yet the complicated parts that they're able to get out of them. It's kind of like the automatons, if you've ever looked into those things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Those things are, it's mind-boggling what we were able to do before computers came around to the prominence they are today.
I need to bug Tom of FrogPod fame. He at some point picked up I don't remember if it was like a Brown and Sharp, like cam-driven screw machine. And I need to find like if he's turned it on at all or if he still has it, or I bet if he has it, I bet it hasn't been turned on. But it's a really cool machine.
Yeah. That would be cool.
I don't know what I would make on it, but I would love to make something.
Well, probably whatever it was designed to make. If it's that old, it's probably designed around a single part.
So. No, it was like the predecessor to a Swiss machine.
Oh, okay.
Except just cam operated. So it may have even been sliding headstock. I don't remember.
So going to the complete opposite end of ancient machines that are still running are really cool. Do you watch Titans of CNC?
I do not.
Okay. You need to look up one of their videos. Have you seen the 8 turret Swiss slave?
I've seen those before. I saw them like IMTS.
Those things are insane.
Yeah, they're nuts.
Like I was watching some of it. I've seen them before, but I'd never really paid too much attention to them. But Titan's got one, and I saw it, and his thumbnail caught my attention. And so I started watching it and trying to figure out what those things were. And it is just the amount of parts you can get through them is mind-boggling. Because basically your only limitation is, in that particular one that they had, it was an 8 separate turrets. I forget how, it was like a 40-axis machine or something. I forget. It was insane how many axes it had. But basically, you start in at Op 1, and every station is a different feature. And so instead of breaking it down by operations, you can break it down by tool. And so whatever single tool path is the longest is the limitation of how fast you can make your parts, because the thing's constantly rotating. And so, if a part would normally take you, say, 10 minutes, but you have one feature that it's your longest runtime out of everything, and it's less than 8. So, like, say you had 7 operations and your longest operation was 2 minutes, you could get it down to where you're getting a part every 2 minutes on that one machine. So it's just
that's how the old screw machines worked. Like the old like Acme machines, like they would have 8 stations or whatever, and cam driven.
Yeah. Nuts. So it's kind of like a modern version of that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So it's just cool, highly productive. So, but yeah.
The only other thing I had on my list was advertising, and we're trying to learn how to do advertising, like traditional paid advertising. And by traditional, I mean social media advertising, which I consider traditional advertising. I did a little bit of experimenting with it, and like I ran an ad for like 2 days and spent a total of like $30. But now that we have a Shopify website, we can get all of the fancy integration stuff that we couldn't with Etsy. And we spent $30. We didn't actually get any sales on our website with that $30, but we did have someone back our Kickstarter. So we spent $30. We made $44, which is actually still losing money for us because, we have to make the thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, for a fairly half-hearted, just testing, I mean, a 1.5 ROI, not too bad.
Yeah.
But now that Scott is here, we need to this is the reason Scott is here.
Get your advertising up a level.
And he has on his wall over there, there's no way that's readable, but it says Meta Ads 1.75 return on spending by 422. That's Scott's goal, which is basically the end of the week, which might be a little bit optimistic because it takes an ad like 24 hours or 36 hours to really get going. So maybe 422 was a bad date to set because that doesn't give him very long. But if we can hit 1.75 ROI on ads, we're, depending on what sells, we're either just barely making money or just barely losing money. So, and then we can slowly start, make that, if we get to a 2.0 ROI, basically we're just printing money at that point.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. That's
depending
cool.
on what sells.
Yeah. So have you sat down and figured out, like, you did a lot of carabiners on your first one?
Yes.
Have you looked at, and I don't mean me, but I mean other machine shops outside of me that could mass produce these and how cheap they could do them at certain volumes? Have you ever done that?
I have not. If we wanted to send them off to China and get them EDM'd, they would probably be pretty cheap. But I have not looked into it.
You should. Maybe. I mean, it depends, because it depends on what you're selling. Are you selling it as something that you guys are making, or are you selling it as your design? Because
I think it kind of depends. It's a little bit of both. The thing I don't like about going, so yes, there's probably a US shop like you that could make these for us. Probably one that could even make them cheaper. But doing that forces you into holding inventories and longer restock cycles. And it just slows everything down and makes it much more expensive.
I don't mean for like once you start selling them continuously. I just mean for like a Kickstarter, like where you have a large quantity of a one shot, so you can focus in on your next one.
The Kickstarter, I think, is where it would make the most sense. Yeah. Even if we were selling, 20 carabiners a week regularly, I think it would still make far more sense for us to make them ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing right now is we want all the margins that we can get on them. Yeah. And I would much rather, pay myself or pay Scott to be the one standing there by the machine than someone else. But I don't know. There is a world where that will happen eventually. But right now, I'm just all about keeping inventories down and supply chain short.
Nope, you're good. I just wanted to be devil's advocate and hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
So
I, originally was working more towards outsourcing more and more and more, but that was before I got Scott in, and my mind has been changing on that.
Oh.
And now I'm leaning more the route of,
Doing
a
more and
highly
more
productive
in-house.
shop with, me running it basically, and
Yeah.
eventually with help. Because it's really magical right now. I spent all day by the machine today and stuff still got done. Like
Yeah.
packages shipped themselves.
It's amazing when
Advertising
you
got
have a
done.
second person.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. Like I could never do this if I didn't have Weston helping me out. Like it wouldn't get done. I'm too disorganized, and he does so much on his own that I don't have to think about. That is just incredible. It's awesome.
Yep.
Like today, he
So
ran the laser all day while I was running the machines. So, and shipped out like 12 packages from Etsy or whatever happened over the weekend. So,
yep. We're the first couple of weeks of Scott being here were weird because we were all focused on the Kickstarter and like not really in the flow of things.
mm-hmm.
But now that things have settled down some, it's starting to work how I had imagined it, where, Scott is doing his marketing thing. I am doing my machining thing.
Mm-hmm.
I focus more on the business side. Scott can work on some of the creative side. And like, it's been really nice.
Does Scott come up with the designs of the products and then you make them, or are you coming up with the designs and Scott's just helping you market them?
So the actual CAD files that I am starting to machine, I have all done. Scott has done some concept art of ones that I haven't really started on yet. But I will just use his concept art. I will remodel them and then go from there.
Yeah. But it's nice to have someone who can do really good concept art.
Yeah.
Like I can make stuff look like a concept art pretty good. I cannot come up with concept art on my own. I'm horrible at that. So,
yeah. And over time, Scott will probably play more and more of a design role. I like, when Scott and I had started a long time ago, was really just like, I had an engineering degree, or I was working on my engineering degree at the time. I was learning about making things, and like Scott had a much, much, much better eye for design than I did. And that's where like the Spire pen came from. That was all Scott's design, really. Now I have designed a bunch more products, and like I have that practice that he does not have yet. And it's like he has the style, but not kind of a lot of the execution practice. So I think as he gets better at practicing the execution, he'll be doing more of the product design. But in the meantime, it'll probably be still like I'll be using some of his ideas, but I'll do the final details. Especially just because like I've used Fusion a whole lot more, and like designing this thing is not straightforward with no straight sides on it. Like just that 3D modeling is tough. So like that, like with some of the concept art he's done, not knowing how to model it has really slowed him down. But he knows what he wants, like functionally and aesthetically, and then it just needs someone else to finish it up.
Yeah, makes sense.
My air compressor is running.
I was wondering what that was. It's still going. Oh man.
Should we wrap up?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I got too much more to talk about. Just excited that I'm consistently busy. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I think I mentioned this last week, but we're pretty close to hitting our monthly goals for the first time ever.
Woohoo!
So I'm excited about that, and I'm hoping that trend continues. So hopefully, I think next week we'll start getting paid again because we've been doing a lot of work and everything's on a net 30. So hopefully money will start rolling again next week, because I think that's when the first of the net 30s that we've been doing a lot of work on are going to start to hit. And then I'm hoping I can keep getting stuff on the front end. So I'm always looking out 30 days and going, okay, it's healthy and we're doing good. So anyways, just that update. Super excited. So I guess I'll just take us out. So everyone who's been listening, I appreciate it. We appreciate it. Please tell all your friends about us. The 3 or 4 of you that we have now. We might be up to 4 finally. Those of you who have been messaging me on Instagram and that listen to the podcast, I'm sure Design Everything gets some of those too. I appreciate it. And this is Harrison with Precision Ingenuity signing out with AJ from Design the Everything.
Fun fact, this song is called Cry When It's Over, which is one of the reasons I chose it. I thought it was a good sign out song.
Nice.
Bye.